Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Colony Drop, a Gundam podcast. My name is Brian, my co-pilot is Isaac, and this is a podcast where we talk about anything and everything related to Mobile Suit Gundam. From the anime, to the movies, to the models, to the food. If it's got a Gundam logo on it, we'll talk about it. On this week's episode, we conclude our review of the climactic 1988 film Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack. We'll pick up right where we left off with Axis descending towards Earth and Amuro in need of more psychoframes.
One thing I noticed too was that Char put the cockpit of his mobile suit, the Suzabi, in the head. So I guess he learned from the Zeon that if you want to survive, you always put your cockpit in the head. So that's your get out of jail free card. You'll live to fight another day.
He also had that chest cannon, which destroyed like 3 Jagans at one time.
Yeah, nobody's ever thought there'd be like a chest cannon, belt buckle cannon, whatever that is.
Yeah, they flew by and he's just like, "Oh, there they are," and he just,
If you saw it, would you think that was a cannon, or would you think it looks like a vernier thruster, and like that's just to have him maneuver more?
I would at least be cautious that it perhaps was a cannon.
I mean, if you see any red mobile suit and you're fighting Zeon, you should maybe retreat. I don't know.
You should just run. Yeah, you should just run the other way, especially if you're piloting a Jagan of all things. I did really like Bright and Londo Bell's plan to blow up Axis from the inside.
Yeah.
This was basically Armageddon, the movie, before Armageddon, the movie.
What's cool about that is do you remember a scene where they're in the colony hangar bay and Amuro's explaining like where they are, where Fifth Luna is, and where Axis is, and he like holds up both of his hands and then he lifts up a foot. Do you remember that?
I do. This movie is just it's so dense. I think one thing I like about this movie is every time I watch it, I notice something new. Like this last time I watched it, 2 new things that I noticed were Amuro was like tuning the Psycommu on New Gundam before they left. It was just something for his character to be doing while someone else was talking. And like before, I guess I didn't really pay much attention to it. But then after rewatching it this time, he was tuning it because it wasn't ready yet, and he needed to get it ready to go. And he eventually just said, "Look, it's fine the way it is. Let's go." And then that, later on, the funnels were too sensitive, and that's what got Kira killed.
What could go wrong? I'll disappear in a flash of light.
And then the second new thing I noticed was, and like you said, the end is a little nebulous. The way I've always understood it, I did read different summaries of the end for this podcast to see which one I agreed with the most. And I think the one I like the most is the one that's on Mecha Anime HQ, which says that there was so much will gathered in one spot that it overloaded the psycho frame, and the explosion, the overload caused this event to happen.
You felt like that was the best explanation. This was the culmination of everybody's willpower, maybe on Earth, maybe in the Earth sphere, definitely at the battle, and they propelled the asteroid away from Earth.
Yeah, I never felt like it involved the people on Earth. I thought it was just the people in the battle. But the thing I did notice this time was that Amuro was like, "Why aren't they helping?" And then when he said that, like the psycho frame, the one that Chan had brought, it was flying through space and it passed the fleet with the GM3s. And then when the psycho frame passed the GM3s, I think that's when the GM3s, which I think they're from like side 1 or side 2,
something like that.
That fleet over there. That's when they decided to go help. It was like they were triggered by the psycho frame. They got caught up in that desire to push Axis away. I guess I just hadn't made that connection before, but there's just lots of those little things. So every time you watch this film, I think there's something new to see, just because there's so much crap going on at the same time that you're never going to notice it all the first go around.
Yeah. One thing I noticed that's very important for privacy in the world of the Universal Century is Amuro was sleeping and Chan's calling him on the video phone, and it just turns on. Like if you're getting a call in the future, like they'll just see you immediately. Like you won't have time to make yourself composed and then press like accept call button. No, it just turns on. And then like he woke up and he was talking to her and he was like, "Give me 10 minutes." So your sleep will be disturbed. Or maybe that's a military feature actually. Like if you're in the ship and they need you, your phone will just, the video phone will just turn on.
It's interesting you bring up that scene because I thought just overall the characterization for Amuro was perfect in this film, whereas maybe Char's was a little less, it was maybe more like a hard evil turn. But that was a great scene for Amuro's character because we all know that he has not had the most healthy relationships over the years. That part you're talking about happens right after he's dreaming about Lala. And so he wakes up and he's all flustered. And he's really cold to Chan. And I think she even says that, like, after she hangs up, she goes like, Amuro, you're so cold sometimes. And that's so Amuro, right? Because he's a little bit maladjusted. He doesn't necessarily handle all of his relationships the best way. A lot of them have not ended well, perhaps. He watched Lieutenant Matilda die, his first, quote, crush. I don't know that he's the best at dealing with interpersonal relationships as a new type.
Yeah, not only that, but you really feel the stress from Amuro, like just running around, constantly having to deal with Char and save the world again. Of course he'd be tired. Of course he doesn't want to get woken up at the last minute. And, it's just, I don't know. You really feel for Amuro as a guy that's under the gun, a lot of responsibility, overworked, underpaid, underslept, underfed. And
and I feel like that shows up in his piloting as well,
Yeah.
right? I feel like because he's always trying to do something, he pilots like everybody is just in his way, and he kind of just effortlessly moves them out of his way by taking them out one way or the other.
Yeah, he's very much like almost a John McClane kind of hero, right? Like he's thrown in the situation, and all right, I guess I'll cut to clean up the mess and be the hero.
Yeah, absolutely. He goes out and he's like, oh, okay, well, they banked this way, so
Yeah.
I'll just shoot him over here. Fine.
Yeah.
And then I move on to the next target.
Zeon, all right, I'll shoot him out of the sky. Oh, Char, all right, let me explain to Char while his ideas are wrong again.
Yeah, exactly, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they duked it out. They used their guns. They lost their guns, and they used their sabers. And so finally, Amuro's just like, fine, you're still not going down, so I'm just going to punch you and rip out your neck on the Sazabi until you go down. And then I'll kick you, and then I'll just rip your cockpit out and shove you into the asteroid and make you watch me foil your plan.
How many times do I have to show you Zeons to stop putting these massive cables on the outside of your mobile suits?
I think overall, the strengths of this film are the Amuro versus Char resolution and sort of intensity. Anything with Bright in it was very good. The Federation being corrupt yet again is on display. I agree with you, though. I think there are some weaknesses in terms of the backstory of how Char got to where he is. There's a lot of characters here who are all new. I think maybe what do you think it would have been different for you, or maybe some other people that feel that way, if instead of new characters, all these characters were familiar?
It definitely would have felt different. That actually would have felt better, I think. That would have felt more like we're getting closure. If Sayla was there, a lot of other characters that we saw from the original series, maybe some from Zeta, it just would have been so much more of an ending. But at the same time, that doesn't really make sense now because we know long after this movie, there's going to be more Zeon. And so this isn't really the end of the story for Zeon or the Federation at all. Just Amuro and Char. In a way, it's kind of, maybe not sad is the right word, but not sufficient, I feel like. Or in a way, it sort of minimizes Amuro and Char to they were just two guys caught up in the war, just like so many other officers and soldiers and pilots and civilians, because this is Neo-Zeon Federation War is going to keep going on for decades.
One thing that I've always regretted about the film is that it doesn't have Camille in it and it doesn't have Sayla in it.
What would Camille do? Like you see him getting wheeled around.
Well, presumably
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Things don't go great for Camille.
Well, presumably I was hoping that he would have recovered by this point.
How?
I don't know. They've got great technology in the Universal Century. I just feel like Camille and Char, they developed a great bond in Zeta. And to not see Char receive any judgment from Camille for his actions is a bit disappointing. I think it would have just been a better movie. Same thing with Sayla. I mean, Sayla's a little bit different because she was left out of Zeta because her voice actress wasn't available for Zeta.
Right.
And that's like a huge thing in Japan. If your voice actor or actress is not available, then they take that very seriously and they will not put that character in the film typically. And so in Zeta she was replaced with Beltajica, essentially. Maybe they wouldn't have served the exact same role, but in the original Mobile Suit Gundam novel, Amuro and Sayla sort of fall in love and have this romance. And so I just think if Sayla had been involved, maybe instead of Keira we had Sayla, that would have felt more organic, right? I mean, because all of a sudden you're introduced, oh, this is Kara, she's number 2, and then she kind of just goes and dies. And you don't really have too much attachment to Kara other than you're like, oh, that sucks. Her and Astanaj were a thing, and now they're both dead. Like that's a bummer.
Yeah, who's gonna eat their pasta?
Yeah, like again with
he
pasta.
he made enough for 2 people.
Now no one's gonna eat it. So I don't know. I've always felt that was kind of a missed opportunity.
Absolutely. You know what? This convinces me even more that this movie didn't completely stick the landing, and having more characters, making it an ensemble final movie or final season would have been so much more satisfying, just like you said. Like, it would have felt like such a callback to everybody that we've seen before. God, can you imagine if like even like members of the 8th MS team show up or something? Like if they redid this, like, you know, you see Sanders out there in a Jigen or something, that'd be like, wow. Yeah, I feel like that'd be so much better. It'd be like those Power Rangers episodes where like
Tommy
like,
comes back, yeah.
Something like that, or like all the Red Rangers team up,
Yeah.
and like they have to like fight this new enemy or something. Like
Yeah.
they get the Red Rangers from like the past 10 seasons to show up once, or they just get like multiple season Power Rangers to just reunite for like one episode. And I don't know. I feel like it was a missed opportunity. Ultimately, it could have been done better. I understand it wasn't. Maybe Tomino's vision was, yes, I will have the big movie and it'll be a great ending to all this, but that's not what happened. It wasn't as good as it could have been, and Quest never should have had as much screen time as she got.
Yeah, I mean, you know, some of that is also just due to circumstance, right? You know, for all we know, a series was never on the table, right? I mean, they probably just said, okay, well, we'll let you wrap it up, but you know, you get 2 hours. And if he knew he already couldn't use Sayla because of the voice actress thing, who knows? I mean, I don't know what was going through his head 30 years ago. I certainly think it was good. I really like the movie, but yeah, there are probably some things that 30 years later, in hindsight, do we wish it had more of this or maybe a little less of this? Certainly, but
there's a few funny things I noticed too. If you remember Mirai and her daughter, they're like driving through like a downtown area and there's like a robbery behind them. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And there's like a bombing and an explosion that takes out like the road behind them.
Yep. Yeah, and no one seemed to care too much.
Yeah, they just continue forward. She kind of like looks through her like side view mirror, and then she's just like, oh. And then she like goes back to talking to her daughter about like, I don't know, Hathaway, or I wonder how like Dad's doing in space or something.
Trying to keep them focused. Yeah, I noticed that too. What was that about? We didn't really.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe that was her plan to keep her focused. Like, you know what? I can't help the situation. We're just gonna keep driving. And then also, if you remember, Hathaway's allowed on the bridge. Mm-hmm. Right? And like Bright says, you know, oh, if, you know, you can watch the battle from here. If you get scared, you can go to my quarters. And then everyone on the bridge transfers to the combat bridge, just leaving Hathaway exposed on like maybe the one main target of any Neo Zeon mobile suit, right? They would attack the bridge.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and God, can you imagine leaving your son alone to watch like a battle by himself, where like he could possibly die at any moment?
Yeah, no, I could not.
God, you know, that's the Noah parenting style. You just hope for the best for your kids.
Oh, Bright. Did you notice that at the end that was really sad? I think there was a moment where Bright, like his face, you could just tell that he knew that Amuro was dead and that he wasn't coming back. You know, because up to this point, Amuro was the one person that had always succeeded, right? And you can tell that it's hitting Bright hard, that he's not going to come home this time. And you can even see that in Unicorn. Bright has the framed picture of Amuro on the wall.
Man.
In Unicorn, which is pretty sad, right? Because after Char's counterattack, Bright is kind of, I mean, besides Kai, but no one really likes Kai, right?
Yeah. Where is Kai?
You know, there's no one really left from that original White Base crew. I mean, Mirai, but you know, she's no longer in active duty.
Yeah, they're kind of the only ones they got. Like they had a rocky relationship, at least in the beginning, but like surrogate brothers, more or less, but blood brothers, battle brothers. I don't know whatever the military term is.
Yeah. So I thought that was really sad. But did Nanai make it out? I don't remember if she died.
They never really show. I assume she lived to fight another day because they don't show her dying. She was with, you know, the admiral that they have in Zeon, or whoever's running the ship, and they're just kind of observing from far enough away. So My headcanon is she and whatever's left of Char's Neo Zeon, they went on to make the sleeves.
Well, that ship certainly did. That ship is the same ship in Unicorn. They repaired it. The Rarula.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
again with the hard names.
Terrible Zeonic names. But that'll all end thanks to not only the great Dagwin, but King Space Pig.
He will ascend the ranks.
Yes, prepare for battle and prepare for the buffet.
First order business. Simplify the naming scheme of Zeonic suits.
We will only be using compound nouns and no made-up words. No consonants next to each other.
Yeah. So how about the mobile suits, Isaac?
This was like, in a way, peak Zeon, because Gyaradogas, I thought, were the ultimate evolution of Zaku's, it felt like, right? They look so awesome. And yes, I'm talking about Zeon first because Zeon is such awesome designs. That said, Jagdogas, thought they were all right. You know, I'm glad they made something pretty distinguished for like the officers and higher-ups. The Sazabi and the New Gundam. I think the New Gundam takes the cake. Sazabi looks a little bit too much like a bird of paradise for my taste.
Oh, interesting.
Well, it's so rare. But then again, I'm not really into Char. On the Federation side, you know, the Gigans and the Rigazi, they were okay, I guess. They were passable. They were very Federation, so they look very utilitarian, not very flashy, very standardized, simple in a way. Overall, though, the designs were great in the animation, and as old as the animation is, I think it still held very well for mobile suit combat.
Yeah, I agree on the animation comment. I think I said this during the F91 review, but to me, this film looks better than F91 to me. I don't know why. I guess maybe it's the color palette in F91 is weird on the Federation side. The Crossbone Vanguard suits certainly look pretty damn great in F91, but on the whole, I think this movie looks better. And again, I can't pinpoint why, but the Rigazi has always just kind of been like a weird thing to me. So
right,
the Rigazi is a simplified Zeta Gundam that uses what's called a back weapon system instead of like a full transformation into the Wave Rider mode because it was like too expensive to make more Zeta Gundams or something. And there were interesting fact, there were 2 units made of the Rigazi. There was this one in Char's Counterattack, which gets destroyed. But then there was another unit made sometime between then and Unicorn because there's another Rigazi unit on the Rockeye Loom during the Laplace incident. So I thought that was interesting that one of them is still in service. But just overall, the design has always been a little underwhelming to me. It's like trying to be a Zeta Gundam, but like different, but it's not as iconic as a Zeta Gundam. And I don't know, just in the movie, it kind of gets its ass kicked all the time, right? Like Amuro does well with it in the beginning, but you can tell that the Sazabi is clearly outclassing the Rigazi, and that Amuro's not going to win. You know, in the Rigazi, the Rigazi doesn't feel like a main character suit. What do you think about the Rigazi, Isaac? Is it underwhelming to you?
Pretty much. I felt like someone was told to draw a Gundam using like only triangles, because like it's very angular. Yeah, thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth. It's very angular, and it's almost like they gave it to people, I would assume, that you're good, but you're not good enough. Like, you'll be able to mop up those Gyaradogas, but if a Jagdoga shows up or some other kind of ace or officer, you're in trouble. And that's about as well as it performs. It's got like a weird kind of half transformation thing. And yeah, I would be curious if anybody's a big fan of it, let alone was excited to buy a model for it. You know, you wouldn't. You just would get a Gundam or another cooler mobile suit, right?
Yeah, for sure. This isn't something... As like a lover of Char's Counterattack, I don't feel the need to go out and buy a Rigazi model.
Please don't.
Don't
waste your time.
They do.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they make Leos, but there's no need to go and get them.
Oh, but I think that's what also bothers me is the Rigazi really the best that the Federation could muster for this operation? Like, if Char is attacking, and the best you got is this, you were unprepared.
Yeah, well, the Federation's always caught their pants around their ankles, but this was a case of putting a prototype into a war zone. You know, it just comes off as fragile. I guess its weapons are accurate. That's the best I could say for it. Other than that, it doesn't look like it could take a lot of damage. I guess it's moderately fast, but I don't know. If you put like more vernier thrusters on a Jigen, you might be able to get the same results.
Yeah, there was that one cool part in the beginning where, again, Amuro being a badass, Yune was like going after him, and he let out some fake Rigazis, those like balloons. But one of them turned out to be a mine, and it just like blew Gune's mind. He's like, that was a mine, and like it screwed up his suit, and he got shot. Yeah, Amuro schooling Gune in the Rigazi is pretty embarrassing. It just highlights the skill gap. But yeah, so Rigazi, meh. New Gundam though, what a great design here. Simple color scheme, black and white. It looks like a mature Gundam, fully evolved form of the Gundam. And that's perfect given that this is the fully evolved form of Amuro, right? So let's talk a little bit about the Psycho Frame. Amuro talks about how he designed New Gundam himself, but the people at Anaheim, they added on the Psycho Frame, which was leaked to them by, it turns out, Char. Char's Neo Zeon had this Psycho Frame technology, which is essentially embedding nanoparticle psychomus into the frame. And Char leaked this to Anaheim on purpose so that when he dueled Amuro, it could be on even terms. Which goes back to your point that everything that Char does is about Char. He is the most important. So his duel with Amuro has to be perfect. So he leaked information to make it so. That's arrogant, but it's also so, I don't know, like self-centric, right?
Yeah, it's very Char to want an even fight, but at the same time think that he could win the even fight because he's superior naturally.
Right.
And it doesn't work out.
No, it backfires on him.
Do you take this to mean Char would have won had he not given it away?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I don't know if he would have won, but he certainly wouldn't have. Amuro wouldn't have been able to push back Axis. So in a way, Char defeated his own plan.
Yeah, actually, Char has no one to blame but himself. God, what an idiot.
But the New Gundam, the fin funnels look great. This Gundam looks cool, I think, because it's so asymmetric. Because the fin funnels are only on one side. They form like what looks to be a cape. And with the black and white, he looks like a space pirate, which is, I just think it's cool. And he has the one saber off to the side on one shoulder, and it's like the cooler saber that has a beam, like hilt, like a beam pommel thing at the end that goes out the bottom, as well as like a little cross thing, and it's shaped like a saber, not just a straight up and down thing. I don't know if you ever have a New Gundam model. Putting the saber together is always one of my favorite parts because it looks pretty cool. So yeah, I don't know. I love the New Gundam, and then the High New Gundam looks even cooler. But we can talk about that on a different episode. Yeah,
and can I just say that like the funnels themselves I've never seen funnels like that. They had such a cool design to them. They weren't just a gun on a booster, and they might be the coolest part of the New Gundam.
Yeah, and they could make that little shield, which was neat.
Yeah, they fold up, and I don't know. The New Gundam was all designed completely well from head to toe. It's on the short list of Gundams I like. Short list of Federation mobile suits that I like and are willing to buy and build.
I loved how the New Gundam's funnels, he would just like destroy the other people's funnels with his own funnels. it was just, Amuro's just like, again, just moving people out of his way. Like Amuro's like just constantly on a mission and everyone's just in his way. That's my summary of Amuro.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right? I mean, no, people don't always go for the enemy funnels.
Nope, he did.
So,
but poor Quest just got rocked.
Well, that's what you get. I mean, I don't know. I guess she thought she was going to be immune in battle, but she got wiped out pretty quickly at the end of it.
And then Isaac stood and clapped.
Yeah, and I said, that is not the heir to the Neue Zeal.
So the Jagan, man, I get that they need like an army suit, but this one's pretty bland, Isaac. I've never liked the Jagan.
I'll say this. I'm sure it did well enough against Gira Dogas, but everything else slaps it around, right? Jag Doga, Sazavi, just even regular like capital ship fire like we saw with the poor scout team that
Yeah.
went to go check out the Neo Zeon fleet at the what should have been the peace handoff. Yeah, they just got blown away by the capital ship cannons, which is pretty rare for mobile suits to be hit by capital ship cannons. In their defense, they were being overwhelmed by fire. But yeah, nothing to say about the Jigans. It looks kind of cool. I mean, it's a very sort of streamlined design. I'll say that. I like the color, sort of a pale blue.
I think I would like it more if it had more colors. Like, it's just very monochromatic.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's not bad. Not great, not bad.
All right. I did read that apparently the GM3 is a bit faster and more has more weapons, but they still don't use it. I guess the Jagan must be cheaper or something.
Sounds like the Federation.
Yeah. I mean, the Jagan is in service for 30 years, Isaac.
That's true, right? We see them in a F91.
We do. We see them in Unicorn, F91, all the F90 prequel stuff. Jagan's everywhere.
It's the Solomus of mobile suits.
yeah.
That thing's just never going away. We built too many, or it's such a cheap, reliable design. It'll be here until the end of time.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Gyaradogas. I thought those were great. What did you think about Resin, her blue one? I thought that was a good one.
Yeah, I guess I'd wonder what the rationale is for not giving her a Jagdoga. Do you have to be a new type to get a Jagdoga? And they were like, "Well, you're an ace. Here, we'll paint it blurple." So I don't know. That was pretty cool. I like that she was. I would like to see more of her. She was a really interesting character.
Yeah. It's another, another point on the scale of too many characters, probably.
Yeah. But
I agree.
And I think having a foldable shield on the Gyaradogas might be a mistake. I think it might be better if it's solid. But what can you do?
Yeah. To answer your question, the Jagdogas or the Yacht-Dogas, which I believe is the correct pronunciation. Yeah, they are new type use suits. They're basically a Gyaradoga but souped up for new types. Even though I'm glad that they look different though than the Gyaradogas. You don't want everything to be too samey. So I think that was good that they at least made it different.
Yeah, it doesn't really look like a callback to any other previous Zeon mobile suit either. It's very kind of bird-like, hawk-like.
Yeah, I like the color schemes that they had. They were both very unique.
Yeah, they weren't bad.
Yuna had that really cool commander antenna. I thought that was good.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Alpha Azieru. Why don't you rant to us about the Alpha Azieru, Isaac?
It's not that great, people. It's an ugly color. It's an ugly design. I don't know why it has those massive fuel containers on the bottom. They just look so bulky and unwieldy. It faces a lot of problems mobile armors always face. It's too big for its own good, and at the end of the day, it's just a glorified single-person gunboat. I mean, I don't know why instead of bits they gave it those control-by-wire kind of cannons. You remember those four particle cannons that it had?
It did, yeah. She had bits or funnels, whichever one, as well as those wire guided things, which I thought was strange. We hadn't seen those in a while, so yeah.
Right, that's kind of a step back. The whole point of the bits is that you don't need the wire. So I don't know why they decided to bring it back, but yeah, I would be very surprised if there's a lot of Alpha Azieru fans or model owners, because it's kind of an ugly design. Beige, never a good color for Gundams, or I mean, never a good color for mobile suits or robots. Even in the desert, a desert camo looks better than just all beige, all khaki.
It doesn't have any legs, no arms. Gunboat is a very good description of this, because I don't really know how else to describe it.
It was essentially a bulky platform to move bits into combat. It doesn't have any type of really cool main mega particle cannon or anything like that, or a missile rack or stuff like that. It just had those fly-by-wire things and some bits. So I have no idea who was going to pilot it before Quest, but they dodged a bullet.
It did have a cool mouth beam though, right?
Yeah, I think so, but did it really fire it that much?
No,
maybe a few times.
Yeah.
And I don't think it really came off as being, a fleet destroyer, which is, I mean, say what you will about Gato, but the Neue Zeal clearly looked like it could take on fleets.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and here we are, 2 steps backwards with the Alpha Azieru.
Yeah, and like we talked about last week, you know, the Alpha Azieru is a descendant of the Neue Zeal, much to Isaac's chagrin, I'm sure.
It's the deformed descendant.
So one thing that's always bothered me about the Alpha Azieru is it died from like a single missile.
Yes. It took one hit to kill Quest. Like, I'm glad it hit Quest, but at the same time, was it just not armored? Like, was it hitting the right spot? You know, man, it's just, I don't know. The Absolus took a lot of hits to kind of go down, right? And then ultimately they had to destroy the cockpit itself with a punch. This was clearly the opposite, where whatever armor or eye field or lack thereof that it had, it was just easy to down. You know, a group of Jegans, maybe one Jegan could probably taken it out with like a lucky shot if that's what the extent of its defenses were.
Yeah, this is going to be my way to rationalize it. So they were both standing still, or floating still, right, in space. They weren't really moving. They were just kind of across from each other. So maybe the missile was aimed at the Alpha Azieru's weak point, and because Quest didn't move out of the way, that's what it hit, and it kind of blew up. Maybe in a normal battle, you know, you don't get those stationary shots, and such a shot in a normal battle is very unlikely. But because maybe they were standing, you know, they were just floating still, it just kind of went up and through the vent and blew up. That's the way I'm gonna rationalize it. I don't know.
Up into the vent, the space vent.
It was a, you know,
yeah. Who built the Alpha Azieru? Are you saying it was the same people that built the first Death Star?
Yeah,
and they like left the grate off that exhaust port.
Yeah, Chan trusted her instincts and, you know, used the Force.
Yeah. Good for you, Chan. I mean, Chan, you went down in history as killing the most annoying character in the Universal Century.
And I guess the other thing that's always bothered me about the Alpha Azieru is just, were they really short on like cyber newtype pilots that you just handed this to Quest? You know, you've only known her for like 3 days.
I mean, yeah. Who was gonna get it? That's my question. Was this supposed to be for Gyune, and they changed their mind at the last minute? You know, did Gyune's little comment about Sayla end up like getting him kicked off the list for the Alpha Azieru?
Did you hear what he said about Lala? Don't give it to him. Make him pilot that crappy Yakdoga.
Char shows up with like a seating arrangement right before the battle. And then Nai's like, "What's this?" And he's like, "I had a last minute change. We're changing pilots for the Alpha Azieru."
Yeah.
Don't ask me about it.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's never made sense to me either. But yeah, the Suzabi, I really like the Suzabi. I think it was good. I like that the Suzabi and the new Gundam look completely different. The Suzabi is like huge, but it's very maneuverable because it has all those thrusters on it. I think the Suzabi, one of the coolest things is it has a lot of really unique weapons. It has a beam tomahawk and a beam shotgun and a summit cannon, which are things that we don't see very often. Because I remember we were talking one episode, I forget which one, about if we've ever seen a beam shotgun, and the Suzabi has one.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It just seems very Char to me. I like it. One interesting point I'll note here is that due to all the stuff that has come after Char's Counterattack, we now know like what suits these suits were developed from. So the new Gundam was developed from the narrative Gundam, which you can see, I believe, in Gundam Narrative, which, you know, that's obviously very new. That was not around back in 1988. But then the Suzabi, I believe, was developed from the Moon Gundam, which is the ongoing manga that fills in the gap between Double Zeta and Char's Counterattack at the moment. And then the Suzabi was eventually developed into the Sinanju, which we see in Gundam Unicorn, which is piloted by Full Frontal.
Mm-hmm.
Very fitting. What do you like better, the Sinanju or the Suzabi?
Probably Sinanju. Not by a lot, though, because as we all know, Char Aznable is a traitor.
The Sinanju has much more normal proportions, I'll say.
Well, the proportions aren't as good as the proportions on the Great Dagwin. The pride of the Zeonic Navy.
What did you think about... Speaking of the Great Dagon, what did you think about the Rulula, or just the capital ships in this show?
The Rock Kylum was pretty cool. Yep.
Definitely
looks more interesting than a Magellan. The Klops, not too bad either. I think I heard an officer call the other ships of the line for Zeon, the Musakas. But overall, I'm not a fan of the all-red Neo Zeon ships. Even the Rulula. The format and layout of the ship is very Crossbone Vanguard, I feel like. If you look at a lot of the Crossbone Vanguard ships, they have a lot of the same style. Maybe that's some type of, wink, wink, nod, nod, or something like that. But, it didn't feel very Zeon to me.
Really? Because I thought you would have liked the Rulula, because it's kind of like the successor to the
No. The Guazine has like a forward bridge, remember? It's got like the sleepy sleepy catfish bridge. Yeah. And this has an actual, towering bridge. Like they, took a few notes from the Federation. Mm-hmm. So design-wise, they're pretty different.
Yeah, they're red,
That's it.
Just insulting Zeon left and right here.
Pretty much, but it was a very Char ship, right? It's red, it's kind of flashy. He made sure it was only the only one of its kind, right? Say what you will about the Guadins, but there were multiple ones of that kind.
Yeah.
So they didn't just build one and say, well, this is for the leader. So it's a very Char way of running your navy.
Make it red. It makes it go faster.
Yeah. Make it red, and I get the biggest ship.
So, I guess a few last things before we finish up. We've talked a lot about how there were a lot of various side characters here. That maybe there were too many, and because of that, they all didn't get enough time. But out of those characters, I'm curious which ones you think were the best. So we've got like Chan, we've got Keira, Gyune, Quest, Nanai, and Resin, who we just talked about even a little bit at the end there, and Hathaway. Out of those, who do you think was sort of the best? Who is number 3 in this film, right? Number 1 and 2 are Amuro and Char. And well, maybe 3 is Bright. So who's number 4?
Boy, that's hard. I'm not going to say Hathaway. Maybe Chan. Because we meet Chan right at the beginning of the film. Mm-hmm. And she had such a tragic role to play in the story and a tragic end. In a way, she was... I don't know. I wouldn't say she was pointless, but she sort of embodied so many other characters we've seen in every other series leading up to here. She was the personification of the victims of the war. She died horribly, and she had a relationship with one of the main characters who had survived up until now. I would say she's my 3, just because she was also able to put Quest in her place in a way, and
extra points for that.
Yeah, she was technical. She was confident and competent. She was willing to do the right things. She was a tragic heroine.
I like Chan a lot. I thought she was a good fit for Amuro.
Yeah,
they worked well together. I liked Resin a lot. I agree. I wish we had seen more of her. There was that really funny line where she's taking off, and she was getting upset at what they were telling her to do, and the people in the tower or the bridge or whatever were saying, well, whatever, you're just going to do whatever you want anyway when you launch, so just go for it. I thought that was very, very meta.
Why give you orders? You're just going to do what you want when you're in the field anyways.
And then, Gyune and Quest, again, I liked Gyune a little much better than Quest, but I thought Nanai was a really interesting character as well.
You could do a story about, the early days of the sleeves. She leaving the battlefield in Char's counterattack, and it just picks up on how she's gonna put it together. Char's gone. It's up to her to kind of piece things together and keep things going, because she seemed to be running everything for Char.
She was, she was holding it all together for sure.
Her and those 2 old men that looked like they were just more like parasites, right?
Oh, the ones directing his speech, I think.
Yeah, they at least seemed like parasites, but she seemed like a true believer and was actually doing, actual fleet planning and the organization and all that.
Nanai is in a prequel manga. It might even be Moon Gundam. I don't remember exactly which one it is, but apparently her and Char met at Nanai worked at the newtype labs, the cyber newtype labs. So that's how they know each other.
Oh, okay. That's why she can kind of turn. Well, I guess she turned Gyune into a cyber newtype, and then kind of within the off screen, within minutes, she was able to do the same to Quest.
Yeah, all of a sudden, oh well, she's been enhanced now. Oh wow, they got really
Yeah.
efficient at that.
Do you know what the process is for that? Like, do you have head canon on how that actually works? Because we hear about it, we don't necessarily ever see it though.
Yeah. My headcanon is that they always talk about psycho waves, right? Which are the brain waves that only new types emit. So maybe they figure out that person's psycho waves and they try to poke and prod at that portion of the person's brain that's making those waves.
Yeah, I'm kind of halfway there too. I mean, cyber new type. Okay, so my head thinks there must be some type of technological implant or something that they can only do to a few people or certain people, because otherwise they'd be slapping this up, the noses of every pilot they have. So it has to be maybe some type of implant or some type of surgery where a device goes in your head and some type of electronic device. Or it's a mix of that and maybe, I don't know, some type of pharmacological addition.
Yeah.
They make you pop pills once a night or something like that. And like, oh, you'll have weird dreams, but you'll be a better pilot or something.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
Maybe it is depicted in some manga out there that we don't know about.
We'll see. We'll do
I can't remember it in any filmed work.
We'll add it to our list of side stories. We'll have Cyber Gundam.
Cyber Gundam. So again, because we're gonna get a Hathaway show soon, what do you think Hathaway's headspace is like coming out of this film?
Poised, sat on the inside, ready to see his family.
Who does he hate at this point?
Does he hate anybody?
He joins he joins an anti-Federation organization. So do you think he must blame the Federation for all this?
Yeah. I wouldn't say the Federation, but he's definitely anti-war and wanting to create a better world, which, as we all know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So we will see where this line of thinking leads him as far as making a better world and fighting for what type of reality he thinks should exist.
Yeah, I forget where I was reading it. Some comment somewhere I read said Hathaway inherits Amuro's philosophy and Char's will or something like. I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah.
And then last thing, I thought this film had a great soundtrack. We haven't talked a lot about soundtracks on this podcast before. We will probably do an episode on Gundam openings and Gundam endings at some point. I thought this film's soundtrack was great. The main theme is especially good, as well as the ending theme, Beyond the Time. It's a classic. But I think my favorite track on the soundtrack is the New Gundam theme, and that's played when the New Gundam approaches, which is maybe one of my favorite scenes in the movie, where I think it might even happen twice. People are fighting, and then just this massive beam comes blazing through, and it causes everyone to kind of stop in their tracks and be like, oh, what the heck was that? And just these beams start coming in, vroom, vroom. And Amuro's about to just wreck their faces. So really like the New Gundam theme. Did you have any reaction to the soundtrack, Isaac?
Yeah, the first time seeing this, the opening music with like the violins, and it just comes off as so ominous in the opening titles. Like you think a battle's about to happen or something, but it's an asteroid drop. So I felt like that really hooked you in with the music. Came off very, very sinister.
Nothing good is going to happen in this movie.
Yeah, you're like, oh boy, this really is the end. This is the final battle.
Talk about a body count, right? So for those longtime Gundam fans, you may know that Tomino's nickname, I assume it's fan given, is Kill 'Em All Tomino. The body count in this movie is it's pretty big. You got Amuro, Chan, Keira, Asanosh, Gyune, Quest, Resin, Adenauer Pariah.
The population of Lhasa, Tibet.
Yeah. But just in terms of like characters that you met during the film, almost all of them die.
I mean,
the only ones left are Bright, Nanai, arguably, and Mirai. But that's because Mirai was on Earth.
Hathaway.
And Hathaway. Yeah.
Their daughter.
Everybody else dead.
Yeah. I mean,
hot damn. How many movies that you go to the theater these days and watch does that happen?
Few to none. But it makes sense. They thought this would be the final chapter, the closing of the series, but it didn't really happen. So it made sense that a lot of people would die. I'm surprised they didn't have more people die, actually, like bravely using the ship, using the Rockeye Loom to try to push the asteroid away, even if his men try to stop him.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, this was Bright at his peak, right? I mean, he did so much to try to stop Axis, right? He launched those nukes. He executed that plan by putting his team on Axis and getting them in there to break it apart with their own nukes. And then he wanted to push it away with the Rockeye Loom at the very end, and his team had to tell him, hey, don't do that. It's not a good idea.
Where's a solar system when you need it?
Oh yeah, I know, right?
It would have helped so much. Yeah,
bring it back.
Speaking of solar system, there's a scene where they're like using a laser on a colony to try to attack Fifth Luna as it's heading towards Earth. Do you remember that?
I do, but then they get attacked by Zeon
agents or something.
I guess agents or sympathizers, right? Yeah.
Is the Federation just installing long-range lasers on colonies now? And like we just never hear about it again? That seems like a really useful weapon.
I'm glad you asked that. I don't remember that before. Amro kept calling it like the laser attack or when will they support us with the lasers? And I was like, wow, we don't really see those before or after this, do we?
Yeah, but like if you're able to shoot a laser from a colony at a side all the way towards Earth's, very low orbit, why would you just have one? Like this is kind of, this is the Grips without the Grips laser. It was
much smaller, I suppose, than the Grips laser, but
it seemed very precise though.
Maybe that one was under the control of the Federation, and that's why they had it.
I guess, but that Zeon laser was just, that Zeon agent. Did he throw like one too many grenades, or what happened?
I don't know. He definitely blew himself up.
He killed himself.
The name of Zeon. Classic Zeon.
Yeah, just you got to be out of the room before you blow up that laser reactor.
Oh man! All right, Isaac. How many Haros would you give Char's counterattack?
On my scale of 5, I would give Char's counterattack a 4 out of 5.
All right, that's solid.
Yeah.
On my 10 scale, I think I'm going to give it a... This is tough.
Decisions.
I think sentimentally, I really want to give it like a 10 out of 10 because it's the climax. But I think realistically, it's probably more like a 8.5 out of 10 from a film perspective.
Okay.
There are a lot of maybe too many characters, but I think that's a little bit forgivable given the format that it's a film, that it's 2 hours, and they had to cram a lot in. And then a lot of the other things that I think are weaknesses are kind of just my wish lists of like, well, I wish they had done this, but I don't know if I can hold that against them too much. But yeah, I think 8.5 out of 10 is a pretty respectable score for a 30-year-old movie.
Good. I mean, I stand by my score, but I would also put like an asterisk that didn't stick the landing as far as I'm concerned completely. Room for improvement, but overall, a very solid Gundam film.
All right, well, I hope you enjoyed our Char's Counterattack discussion. We're really interested to see what you think about Char's Counterattack. Do you think there were too many characters? Which characters were your favorite? How did you like Quest? Was she your favorite new type girl of all time? What were your favorite mobile suits? What did you wish they did better, did more of, less of? Let us know in the comments.
What kind of pasta did they make? You have to tell me the type of noodle and like what actually was like the sauce and all that.
Yeah, and be specific on the sauce. Was it like red sauce, white sauce?
What kind of protein was in there? Was there no protein? Ooh.
Yeah. Do you think Kara was like
vegetarian?
Was she Italian sausage all the way, or was she a vegetarian?
Yeah.
We ask the hard questions around here.
I know. We'll add that to our cooking show episode where we like start recreating Gundam food. Astanage's pasta with blood sauce.
Oh, with blood sausage.
Ooh, there you go.
Oh man, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It could be one of those pink sauces, like brains.
There you go. Brains. Jesus. Really?
Well, her head got rocked in that.
That's
in that
true,
suit, right?
Yeah. Oh boy.
So terrible.
You have to eat it out of a helmet.
Oh. Well, everybody, I don't think we can cross any more lines.
Yeah. On that note.
So please leave us a comment. You can reach us on Twitter at Colony Dropcast, on Instagram also at Colony Dropcast, or on YouTube.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Take care, everybody. See you next week.
Bye-bye.